G'day folks, it's Rob here, and in today's clip I'm going to give you a bit of a tale about ammonia and nitrite spikes and how it can be toxic to your fish. Now this is something, a little event we've just been through here. So basically how it started out was before Christmas we started to run really low on our fish feed stocks. I let the ball drop and I didn't order the feed before Christmas. So we were giving our fish reduced rations of fish feed, probably around about 50 grams 2 to 3 times a day, just to keep them ticking over. Unfortunately that caused another issue. One of the fish decided to become dominant again and started to bully the others, but that pretty much all subsided once we started feeding them their regular levels again. Now as to how you get ammonia in the system, what happens is the protein in the feed is assimilated by the fish. After they assimilate it, they release ammonia, primarily through the gills. Most of you folks already know that. But what happens is that ammonia then goes out, and generally it goes through some sort of biofiltration, either a little moving bed bioreactor like that, or the grow beds themselves, which we're going to talk more about the system layout after we knock this off first. So yeah, the ammonia goes through there, gets processed, and then is cleaned so I can go back to the fish tank. Now back to my little tale. After Christmas we ended up getting a new batch of fish feed delivered, and like a bit of a wombat I decided to start feeding them at full rations for the size of fish we've got here. And the number, I'm giving them around about 275 grams twice a day. So that is about a cup and a half worth of feed. I decided to split it up, so I was giving them just under a cup worth of feed 3 times a day. And as a result, I have created a problem where I ended up getting elevated nitrite and ammonia to the point where it could kill the fish. So in this test here you can see that the ammonia is sitting between 0.5 and 1 part per million, or milligrams per litre, and the nitrite is around about 0.5 and on its way to 1 part per million. So looking at these levels here, you can probably guess what happened. Absolutely nothing. And there is a reason for that. It has to do with the way the system is designed and set up. Not only that, the parameters I run my water at. Now, there's a few reasons why I still have fish in there. You can probably see those grey blobs down the bottom. I've just fed them, so there's a bit of a sheen on the top there and a few extra solids floating around. Now, the reason why none of the fish died was because I guarded against nitrite poisoning. Not only that, I run the system at a level pH-wise where the ammonia, if it is present in the system, will not become toxic to the fish. So let me explain. Ammonia can be present as either ammonia or ammonium. There is a gentleman who knows a lot more about this, so I will default to him. There will be a link down in the description that you can follow both on Odysee and YouTube, and check that out. There's Dr.Nate Story's clip on just explaining the difference between ammonia and ammonium. But in a combination of a certain pH range and temperature range, it is not toxic to the fish. Now I like to run my system below 7 pH, and I can at a guess tell you it's between 6.6 and 6.7 this morning. 6.6, and it's going to think a while, then it'll flip up to 6.7. So we'll say it's 6.7, and the temperature is around about 25 degrees Celsius. Go back to the pH, and yeah, 6.7. Oh no, yeah, she's sitting down around about 6.6. So at that range, according to this chart right here, you can see that the toxic amount of ammonia for the fish is roughly round about 5 to 6 parts per million. So at that level there, the ammonia is no issue whatsoever for the fish in the tank here. Now on to nitrite. Nitrite is toxic to the fish. What happens is it gets in through the gills of the fish and gives them what's called brown blood disease. Basically it messes up with their hemoglobin. Now when you add NaCl or sea salt into the system, what that does is it blocks the nitrite from getting in through the gills and causing an issue. Now my system here is still salted at around about 3 to 4 parts per million, so there's more than enough salt in the system to make sure that none of that nitrite is getting through and going to cause an issue with my fish. So basically, even though I'm feeding far too much into the fish tank, creating ammonia that is coming through the biofilter, yeah, the fish are perfectly safe. Now the reason this little biofilter here crashed is because it wasn't being fed. As I said before, not a lot of feed going through the system into here meant that there was less feed to support the bacteria, so you end up with a bit of a die-off in the colony in there. And then when some wombat gets a brand new spanking bag of feed and starts throwing a couple of cups worth in a day, the ammonia just doesn't have the ability to be processed because the bacteria just aren't in there to be able to perform that function. So then it just passes through into the rest of the system. I would like to point out though that the grow beds themselves also act as biofilters as well. They're just not hooked up in that arrangement in this system here, which again I will cover in a tick. So luckily, because I know what I'm doing, there is no danger to the fish whatsoever. Now I was going to just boost up the level of the bacteria in here slowly, but after I did a clip for the supporters the other day, g'day folks by the way, I decided that, you know, I really don't have to worry about that because I've got the water at the right parameters, pH and temperature wise, the system's salted, I can just go for it and I know that the fish aren't going to die. Now I would like to point out that if the pH was higher, over 7, probably sitting around about 7.2 to 7.5, the water temperature was warmer, you know, different climate, different water qualities, I could have quite easily lost all my fish. They could have succumbed to either ammonia or nitrite poisoning. It's just because I understand how the water parameters works that I can, you know, run the system in this fashion, and I have no doubts whatsoever that within a week or two the biofilter is going to pick up the slack and we're going to be chugging along as before. So yeah, it is one of those things, you know, if you know what you're doing, you can actually get away with a little bit in aquaponics. And I'm hesitant in saying that because there's always going to be that Wally out there who says that I'm educating people incorrectly. I'm sorry, I'm not. This is just the facts of how aquaponics works. And then there's the other people out there who say aquaponics don't work, you know, if you have a little bit of ammonia or nitrite, you're going to kill the fish. Don't grow with aquaponics. Well, sorry mate, but you're stupid. If you know what you're doing and you have the system designed in the correct way, it's going to chug along nicely. Now enough of that, let's get on to system design, which sort of comes into play here. A couple of people have asked me why I don't have the water coming from the radial flow settler and then out to the grow beds themselves, so I don't have to worry about this moving bed bioreactor. That, by the way, is called a single loop. The water follows a single loop from the fish tank, through the filter, to the grow beds, to the pump, and then back to the fish tank. And my system at the moment is set up as a split flow, meaning water comes out through some filtration, which you do need, some sort of filtration, into the sump tank, and then some of it is pumped back up into the fish tank, and the other loop of system, meaning the split loop, goes out to the hydroponic side or the grow bed. So I chose that method because I'm comfortable running a biofilter. You know, it's not some sort of complicated science to me, it's pretty straightforward. And it means that I could have the radial flow settler down fairly low, and I don't have to worry about high stands and that sort of thing. If I wanted to run a single loop, what I would have had to do is elevate the radial flow settler to the point that the exit pipe, this one over here, was higher than the highest grow bed, then run a solid pipe out to the corner over there to feed it, or I actually could have just run it out to here and then have the drain in the opposite side over here, and then run another solid pipe down to the opposite end of this grow bed, and then I could have run these two grow beds fine as a single loop. The problem comes with adding the additional bed. As you can see there, that bed sits higher than this bed here, which means this radial flow filter would have had to be as high, or the outlet I should say, would have to be as high as that bed there, which pretty much well brings it in line with the top of the tank. Actually, that outlet is just below the top lip of that tank, so I couldn't have that bed there. Now the reason that bed is so high is because I need a drain to run back into the sump tank. So basically that bed can't be in a single loop system because it would mean that I would have to raise the fish tank and the settler, and yeah, it just makes a whole big mess. So that's why I set it up as a split flow system, and that's one of the benefits I see as a split flow system. I could have another bed, you know, another 2 foot higher than that if I wanted, and say run some towers or whatever, and that would fall down nicely into the sump tank. And yeah, there's a blooming cabbage butterfly, but I digress. And yeah, I could do that with the split flow system, something you can't do with a single loop without adding an extra pump. So I hope that answers that question there, and it's not too complicated for you folks to understand. If you do want to learn more about the different ways you can set up systems, I've got a 3 basic aquaponics system clip that you can click on up there for you folks on YouTube, and if you're on Odysee, the link will be down in the description below. So yeah, that's my little story about poisoning my fish with ammonia and nitrite, and also answering the question about why I've chosen this system in particular, or this layout. As I mentioned before, I do have that video on the different layouts of aquaponic systems. You can check that out, as I said, links below. And also there is a playlist here on YouTube, links below for you Odysee folks, where you can click on the little thumbnail here at the end if you're on YouTube. And that just runs through a whole heap of helpful DIY videos around aquaponics. So I hope that helps you folks out who are looking for a little bit of free information. Before I go, as always, I really do need to thank you all for coming along and tuning in to the channel here on YouTube and now Odysee. Also too, need to thank the supporters out there. Thank you very much for your ongoing support, folks. Hopefully there'll be a bit more content coming to you guys now that I've tidied up my tucks and a few other family bits and pieces. But I will leave it there. I do hope you're all well and happy and your aquaponics are booming, and I'll catch you later. Cheers all, have a top one.